So we will create our first website using Figma and make sure that you are also using the plugin, which is the one we have used recently, Makers.so. So first things first, make sure you have all the assets that you will need for this website. First of all, we have our logo and then the other images that we will be needing. And since we'll be creating a travel website, so make sure you have ready assets for countries that you will be including in your website. So in this example, I'll be using Madrid, Moscow, and Rome. So for Madrid, for example, you have to make sure you also have assets for tourist attractions, restaurants, hotels, and of course, make sure you also have assets for the task description so that it's just easy to copy and paste the text that you will be needing for your website. So now that we have all our assets ready, let's go ahead and create a new design file. Now, make sure that you log into Figma so that all your files gets automatically saved. That means if you are not able to finish at the given time, you still can come back and continue editing. And before I go ahead and start, make sure that we download pictures that are free, okay? Or we also give credits to the uploaders or the owners of the pictures to make sure that we are not plagiarizing anyone's work. And FreePic is one of the websites that I'm recommending for downloading free pictures. There are a lot of other sources. You don't have to limit yourself to just FreePic. And so now that we are ready, so let's go ahead and click New Design File. So here, let's make sure that we name our website first. So I'm gonna name this as Travel and Tours. Right. So you can just click the name and or double click so you can edit that. And like I said, we will be needing our plugin, which is SO. So in this case, I haven't added the plugin yet, so no worries. We can just go ahead and type in our search bar Makers.so. So here we can install plugin. So plugin will help us design our website using templates that are ready-made and also convert our design directly from design to actual website, which is a workable website. So we can now go ahead and try this out. So once you have already added your plugin, it's going to open this time the Makers.so plugin, which is still part of Figma. So what I want you to do is go ahead and click Run. So while waiting, usually you will see here templates, or you will also see other options in designing your websites or components. So now let's click New Page. And here, let's create the name or add the name for our web page. So for this website, we will be needing our main page or landing page. We'll just call it the home page. And we'll also be needing destinations page for the countries of destinations. And you will also be needing about page and of course the FAQ. So let's just go ahead and save this. So this is what I was telling earlier, that we can add components to our website. So of course, the first thing we need to add is our navigation bar. And we can go ahead and add our main section. And of course, we can also add our footer. So the good thing about using a plugin is you have a variety of options to enhance your design. And again, like I mentioned, it is not just going to be design, but it also allows you to create workable links. That means you can publish your work, or you can even, basically publish your work. And allow this to run live. So when we are already happy with our components, the navigation, the main and the footer, we can just close this Figma window. So to launch the Figma window again, you can search for that here on the right side of your screen for our properties here, the design properties. You can click edit this page, or you can click the main menu, Figma main menu, and you can go ahead and click plugins, and there you go. You can click Makers from Figma to site. So basically it will just launch again the Makers window. So let's just close that again. So going back to our design now, so if you notice here on the left side, this is a summary of the components that we have currently in our page. So we only have one page, just the home page for now, which is fine because we are just going to do our home page. So we have three components here: the navigation, the makers, and we have the main, and then we have the footer. So if we click Maker's Navigation, and here on the left, on the design properties, we have options here for placement of our navigation. So by default, it's placed on the right. You can also click left and see how your navigation gets arranged. So right now I want to choose the center navigation, and that's fine with me. And we can also choose to, of course, change our logo and other components in the navigation. So to do that, we have to make sure that we edit the Makers components, the main components in the Makers plugin. So how do we go to that? We just click the page 1 on the top of our left side of Figma. When you click that, it will display the pages that you can see that's currently on or active. You can click Makers components, and in the Makers components you can zoom it out so that you can see the components that you have on there. You can scroll to the right to see the components that you have added. So basically, these are all the components that we have added in our page. So if you want to edit, for example, the navigation, since it is very important that our navigation is consistent. So if we are in the home page, the navigation bar should look exactly the same, even if we are in the destination page, or even if we are in the about page, or even if we are in the FAQ. So that we maintain the consistency, we do the editing of our navigation or any other components inside the Makers components itself. It's actually fine if you do the editing from the actual design. So here in the home page, you click navigation. You can edit each of these components, changing these to home page, for example, the other one destination, this one is about, and this one is FAQ. But like I said, this is only going to work for the home page. So if we create a different page, so we add destination page, for example, we will have to edit again and again the navigation to make sure that it will be updated, right? So what we're going to do is, to make sure we maintain the consistency, we just edit directly from the Makers components. So here in the Makers navigation bar, you have here the three different options. This is the right navigation, this is the left navigation, and this is the center navigation. So like I mentioned earlier, I want to use the center navigation. So in this case, I'm going to edit this one. So I don't really want to use the button, so I can just hide that. You can either delete that or hide that, it doesn't matter. Okay, so as long as it's not there, unless you want to use it for sign up, for example. But if you don't need that, you can just hide it. So how do you hide it? You just click, make sure you click the button. So in this case, make sure you double click, keep double clicking until you have selected the button. And on the left side, you can see that this particular component is also selected. So to hide that, you just click this view icon or the eye icon to hide your object, to hide your button. So to unhide, just click the eye again, just open the eye. So like I said, I don't want that, so I'm just going to hide it. So here, I'm going to edit this. So I'm going to change this as home. Now, you can also apply styles to your font. So for example, you can use any specific font that you like and then any size that you like. So to format the font, you can check the properties, the design properties on the right side below the text. If you can't find it, just scroll. And then you can click the arrow on the right side and you have there the options for our font. So for this one, I'm going to use specific font that I like, which is Habit. Okay, so now since it's too small, I'm going to be changing the size. I'm going to make sure it's bold, and I'm also going to change the size to 32. So there. Now I want to apply the same. So if you want to apply to the same, let's just complete this first. So destination. Okay, destination. Again, to change the font, you can check the text property on the right side and then just click the arrow and scroll down. You can test later on what particular font you like. Okay, but like I said, I already know what I want, so this is what I'm going to be choosing. So I have home. I have to be very consistent with my buttons or with my text. So the label, if it's all caps, make sure everything is all caps. So you don't want your navigation bar to look different in every component, right? So next we have our about page, sorry. So we have about, and then, yeah, so about, again, I'm going to be changing the font and then making this bold and changing the size to 32. So we do this, we keep doing this until we have already completed all the navigation options. So we have here, again, changing the font, and then the format, and then the size, right. So if you notice, the other navigation bars, they still have the same default label, the nav item. Now, the center navigation has home, destination, about, FAQ, elements. So these elements or these navigation now will be used if we choose right navigation all throughout our website. This will just keep getting used in all those pages. So we don't need to keep editing and editing and editing them. So if we want to check if this is really applied in our design, so let's go ahead and go back to page 1. So page 1 is on the left side of the screen. Click that. So there you can find it's already applied. So you have home, destination, about, and then the FAQ. So we don't want this logo. We want to use our own logo design. So again, we go back to Makers components and we edit this logo. But since we will be using logo all throughout our design, I want us to really edit the logo from the Makers logo component. So not just from the Makers navigation bar, but here in the logo. So how do we do this? If we want to add our logo, we can click, make sure we double click until we select whatever we want to select in the logo. So I have selected here the text. I don't want the text, so I'm just going to be deleting that. Now I'll be double clicking on this image, and here on the right side, okay, you can click fill. So what I did was I just went to this fill property and then click the plus button, and you will have here the default is actually a fill, color fill. But if you want to change that to a picture, you can just click the color fill And here on the top, at the top of this window, instead of solid, you choose image. So from this image, you will be allowed to now select the image that you want. So we can open our file. So let me just open my file. So this is where I'll be getting my logo from. So for example, this is the logo that I'm going to be using. So there, it's now added. Unfortunately, if you notice, there's an overlap. So the existing logo of Makers is still on there. So you can just double click and make sure that you select the Makers logo and then delete that. If you notice, your logo here on all the navigation bars are also updated, right? So if we want to check if it also is applied in our page, we can click page one and there it is. Now the logo just looked too small, so we can of course resize that. So for resizing, you can just expand the size here, right? So we can also expand the size of our logo. So if this is already fine, then our navigation bar is done. So there it is. So that is our navigation bar. So the next thing is applying color to our navigation bar. So you can actually apply color to the navigation bar depending on, of course, your design preference. So most designs now really are into minimalistic options. So if you want a very minimalistic design, then might as well put minimal colors and of course minimal styling and minimal pictures. But again, it depends on your preference. And we also have to make sure that our website design is in accordance to what the current trend of website designs are. So if you can remember, designs in the past are really like congested. You can see a lot of pictures, but design in these years, in basically in this recent years, designs are way more minimalistic, which is easier to follow if you are new to a website. For example, it's easier to understand a website if you are seeing minimal things there. But again, for the purpose of showing you how to add color, so make sure you select your component. So we go to Makers component and we select, make sure that we select our center navigation. So we only apply color to the navigation that we will be using frequently. So here I've selected the center and then I'll go down, scroll down and click the fill color. So if you click here, you can of course experiment on different colors that you want to use, right? So I don't like too bright, but I like this kind of the shade of color, but it's just too bright. So I will be using BADF. So enter. So that's the color that I have on now. So I'm fine with this. So if you notice, our logo still has a white background and it kind of not really appropriate, or it doesn't really look nice to our website back with our website background. So you see, against the background, it doesn't look so nice. So you can remove the white background of your logo using the online Photoshop version, which is a Photopea. So Photopea allows you to edit your pictures the way you would in Photoshop. So here I'm going to click open from computer and I'm gonna get that logo right. So it's very simple when just deleting background, we can use the magic wand. So you click the magic wand tool and you select the white background in your image and press delete from the keyboard. Again, press delete from the keyboard. So now this becomes an image with a transparent background. So you can now save this image. So here, instead of save, we use export as. So we export it as PNG So PNG allows us to save the file with a transparent background. So now we click save. So right, so I now have my logo, which is, it now doesn't have the white background. So let me just, doesn't allow me to, okay, so now I got it. So I'm gonna paste this data logo here. So I'm just gonna be renaming this as logo so as not to confuse with the other one. So this is my logo. This is how it's gonna look like without the background. So let me close this and use the updated logo. So let's go back now to our Figma. So let me just close the other Figma websites. So again, I'm going to be changing the logo since I will be using the logo with the without the white background. So you can go back to the Makers logo and then just keep double clicking, okay, until you select the logo. You will know that you have selected the logo because here in the fill, you will see image instead of the color value. So click the image and then choose image and select the one that says logo. Remember earlier I renamed the picture as logo, so I would know that this is the updated one. So when you click that, there it is. So even if we change the background of our navigation bar, it still looks good. Our logo doesn't have the white background anymore, and it's also applied here in our website. So our navigation bar is done. So now we can move on to the next part of our component, which is let me just close this. So navigation is done. We can now go to the maker's main. So this is our main page. So we have our containers here. So we have for the image, and then we have also for picture. And just like the navigation bar, there are also options on how you want your main the main component to look like. So again, click the maker's main component on the left side of your screen, and on the right side, make sure you are in this maker's main, okay? And in the layout, you have options there to decide which one you would prefer. So this is for the background, this is main centered, this is split inverted, and of course we have the stack. So I will be using the background. Okay. Yeah, I'm going to be using the center. So here for the center, I will be putting a picture in the background because I prefer to have a picture here instead of plain white background and then just text. And I'm also going to be editing the components here since there are components that I won't be needing. So buttons, I won't be needing them. So I'm just going to be deleting them, or again, you can hide them by clicking the eye icon. And here I'm going to be changing these texts. So I'm just going to put here travel. So again, for text, you have the option to, of course, change the font. So for this one, I'm going to be using the font Cameron. Okay, there it is. And then I'm going to be using bold, and then size. I want it to be big. I want it to stand out because this is my main. So I have it there, travel. And well, it really looks so big. So we can, of course, adjust the size to probably just this much, all right? And then I'm going to be adding more text here. So I'm going to say, explore the world, right? And then here on the subtext, I'm going to add another text here, plan your travels and get great tips here. So that's why I mentioned earlier that it is very important that in your assets, you have also the text descriptions, because you will just be copying and pasting them wherever you want to display them. Because it will take more time if you are typing and thinking what text to put in your homepage. So here we have already covered the text part, and again you can change the font however you like. So like I mentioned, I want to put a background picture here, so I'm just going to click the fill, and instead of a solid color, I'm going to be choosing image, and I'm going to be choosing an image. So I want to put this picture. This picture is from free pick, so this is free, so I can use it here without having to plagiarize anyone's work. So you can also apply effects to your picture. So like for example, if your picture is just too bright, or your text is not readable anymore because of the picture, then you can apply the effects here, or the opacity. So you can probably make it a little bit transparent. So instead of 100%, you can try probably 60%. So it depends really. It depends on your preference. So probably 50%. For me, that's fine. My goal is I should be able to read my text without any problem. So there. So this is my main component. And now I'm going to be adding another component. So you see I only have three here: Makers navigation bar, Makers main, and then Makers footer. So I want to add a component in between the main and then the footer. You can still add even if you've already put everything, almost everything in place. You can still add. So again, you just have to launch the plugin. So click the Figma main, and then click plugin, the Makers plugin. And once you're in the plugin, sometimes the components don't show. You just have to click your home or whatever frame that you have created. You can click that and components will now appear. So I'm going to add here the features page, or I'm just going to add columns. So there. So now I have columns. Columns give you the freedom to arrange your pictures or content however you want them to look, or however you want them to show in your website. So I don't want my footer to be above my columns. So you can just drag your columns or drag this footer below the columns. Oops. There. So now it's already exchanged. Your column is now above your maker's footer. So by default, our columns, we have two columns. So if you want to have more columns, it's fine. You can just copy and then paste. Sorry, let's just paste here. Let me just Control V. There, so Control V. I have already pasted I have already pasted new columns, so now I have three columns. So it's up to you how many pictures you want to show here. For me, three pictures are enough, so I'm just going to use three columns. So here in this first box, this first container, I'm going to add the picture for one country that I have already prepared. So I'm going to click fill. If you don't have the color on there, it's fine. You can just click the plus symbol. And if you see now the color property, you can click that and then choose image instead of solid, and then select your image. So I'm going to be putting here first Madrid. So tourist attraction in Madrid. I want something exciting, probably. I want colorful, but yeah, these are the pictures that I have. So I'm just going to use this. So there. So I have now this picture. Don't worry about the placement and the padding. we will be working on that later on. So now we'll proceed to the second picture. And again, the same thing, click on the container. And then if you don't have the color displayed there, you can just click the plus symbol and then click the color. And then instead of a solid, click the image and choose image. So right, I'm done with Madrid and now I'm going to this one, Russia. So here I'm going to choose this one. So they're all like the night lights. And then now for the third column, so I'm going to choose a different country. So this one will be Italy. So where is my Rome? Yeah, there it is. So I only have one picture on there. I'll be adding more later on. And again, make sure you have all the assets you need for your website. It's going to be easier to design your website if all the assets are ready. So I have all my pictures here now. So what I want to do is to arrange them, maybe add spaces in between so they're not so close to each other and they're not really just in the middle. So to do that, you can experiment on the auto layout here on the right side, right? So for example, for this top auto layout, you can adjust this to say 50. Oops, so make sure you select the entire placeholder, not just one image, right? So I'm gonna put here, for example, 50. So there, it moves down a little bit. So you can also move it a little bit more. It depends on how much spaces you want for your pictures. So now we can also apply spacing. So we can just double click our pictures. So make sure we are not selecting the main component now. We are not selecting anymore the entire placeholder or the entire container. So we're just going to select our images. So here we can apply our spaces. So here probably I'm just going to put 50. Okay. Or you can also spread them manually like this. Yeah. So I want my picture to overlap a little bit on the right and left. And now we're done with adjusting the spacing. So I want to apply some styling to my picture. So for styling, you can click picture there. I just want to add some corner radius. So I'm just going to use here 40. So there. I don't want it too sharp. And then here, for example, also 40. So I want it to look a little bit like that. And then here in the middle. So in the middle, let's try 40 and then 40 as well. So it just softens your corners. So the same here on the last picture. I'm also going to use 40 and 40 only on two corners. So there, I'm done with my columns. So as I'm done with the columns, I'll just minimize that. So now we'll proceed to our makers.footer or underscore footer. So here in the footer, you can also just like again other components, you have a lot of options here. So you have, make sure you click your component, the makers footer, and on the right side you can choose your layout. So the default is 4 columns. You can also choose legal. You can also choose simple center. You can also choose simple social. So I want to use just simple social. So here, if you notice in the social, you have Twitter, you have Instagram, and then you have the Figma. Now, I want to choose, instead of Figma, I want to put their Facebook. So to update that, you can go to Makers Components again, Whatever you want to update it in the Makers component so it gets updated all throughout your design. So this is the navigation bar. Let's look for our footer. So this is our footer. So here we chose, I believe we chose this one. We've chosen this. So we will be changing this Figma. So double click on the Figma, change this into Facebook or any social media that you want, YouTube for example. So again, double click, make sure you have selected just that logo. And on the right side, on the properties, you can find their logo, Figma, and then choose Facebook. Right, so now it's replaced with Facebook, and then you can go to page one, and in your home page, it's also now updated. So you can also put background color to your footer. So again, we apply here in the Makers components. So to apply that color, we have to make sure that it's the same color as our navigation. So to get the color of that navigation, click the navigation box and then go to your fill properties. This one, you can copy that color code, okay, the hexa code, and then go to your footer. So here in the footer, you can change the fill color from white to the same color as the navigation bar. So this is now the colors that are applied. So this is the home page. So make sure that you have completed this page before proceeding to the next video, because in the next video I'll be showing how to design the destination and making sure that we connect the home and the destination pages. If you have questions, just feel free to ask me. You can ask me during discussions in class, or you can message me or comment in my video.